The sky above Earth's defense fleet was filled with fire. Alien warships, their hulls glowing with violet energy, descended through the upper atmosphere like shards of burning glass. From orbit, the human ships formed a steel wall, silent, disciplined, unyielding. Every captain knew the risk. The Galactic Council had declared Earth too aggressive, too dangerous. Now the combined fleets of 20 alien empires had come to enforce that judgment. Humanity stood alone. Admiral Iden watched the tactical map flicker in red and blue. Thousands of alien vessels formed an encirclement, cutting off every escape vector. His crew was silent, waiting. The bridge lights dimmed as sensors detected gravity distortions from the enemy's main cannons. A quiet voice from the comm station broke the tension. "Admiral, they're demanding surrender." Iden smiled faintly. "Good. That means they're afraid." He gave the order to open the channel. The image of the Council fleet commander appeared. A towering, multi-eyed alien with crystalline skin that shimmered like oil. "Humanity," it said. "You stand in defiance of the Galactic Accord. You will power down your weapons and submit to judgment, or your planet will be erased from the star map." Iden leaned forward, his voice calm. "You should study your targets better. We were forged on a Deathworld. You think pressure, radiation, and war will break us? You're late to the lesson." The alien's expression changed, almost imperceptibly. Iden raised his hand. "Engage Operation Veil." At once the Earth fleet shimmered, then vanished. Every human ship disappeared from sensors. The alien armada's targeting systems blinked in confusion. "Where did they go?" the commander hissed. Across the battlefield, 1,000 human ships shifted behind enemy lines, hidden by a gravity-based cloaking field, a technology no other species could even understand. In seconds, the aliens found themselves surrounded. The human voice returned over open frequencies. "We don't start wars," Iden said, "but we finish them." Dozens of alien ships imploded silently as the human gravity weapons fired, invisible, precise, unstoppable. Space folded like a mirror around the battle, swallowing explosions in a shimmer of distortion. By the time the Council fleet regrouped, their formation was broken, their flagship burning. Iden gave a final transmission before vanishing into slipspace. "You came to judge us. Remember what you saw. Humanity doesn't yield, it adapts." The Galactic Council, watching from the great chamber in orbit above the core worlds, was silent. Earth had survived their test. And for that, the Council decided, humanity would face a new kind of trial, not of battle, but of belonging. Weeks later, in the shining spires of the Galactic Council chamber, the echo of that battle still lingered in the minds of every delegate. Representatives from 100 species filled the air with the hum of translated voices. At the center stood Ambassador Kale, humanity's chosen envoy, his uniform simple but his presence commanding. Behind him floated holograms of the destroyed Council ships, a reminder that Earth was not to be dismissed as primitive. The Speaker of the Council, a massive being of crystalline light, rose and addressed the assembly. "Humanity has proven dangerous. Their gravity weapons defy the laws we all share. They have no restraint, no humility. The galaxy cannot afford another war." Kale's expression remained calm. "You sent a fleet to our skies. We defended ourselves. We used intelligence, not aggression." The speaker's tone hardened. "You destabilized the gravitational balance of a Council fleet. That weaponry is a violation of interstellar ethics." Kale stepped forward. "Gravity is not a weapon. It's nature. We simply learned to understand it," the chamber murmured. Several delegates whispered among themselves. Some were impressed. Others were afraid. One representative from a distant aquatic world spoke. "You humans are unpredictable. One moment you are scholars, the next destroyers." Kale's gaze swept the chamber. "Maybe that's what you fear, that we can be both." The speaker turned to the assembly. "Then it is decided. Humanity will be allowed limited representation in the Council, but their technology shall be restricted. Their citizens may study in our institutions and under observation." A vote was cast and the decision passed. The outcome seemed fair to most, but not to Kale. He understood what observation meant. It meant control. It meant containment. That evening, aboard the Council's orbital station, Kale stood by the viewport overlooking the swirling lights of the galaxy's core. Behind him, an aide spoke softly. "Sir, they're sending one of ours to their academy." "A student." "A test case." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Who?" "Lyra Vale." top of the physics division, gravity research scholarship. She'll be under alien supervision. Kyle didn't answer for a moment. Outside, the stars reflected on the glass like scattered fire. Then she carries our weight, he said quietly. Tell her this, be patient, be clever, and remember, the galaxy watches, but it never understands. Far away on a world called Drenhal Varir, the Interstellar Academy shone like a jeweled city in orbit above a pale green ocean. Students from across the galaxy filled its halls, their voices mixing into a constant chorus of languages. Lyra walked through the Academy's corridors, her human frame standing out among the taller, lighter-built alien students. Many stared as she passed. Some whispered, "Deathworlder." One murmured, "Fragile but arrogant." Another said, "She won't last a week under training." A third voice laughed. Lyra ignored them. She had learned long ago that silence was a weapon stronger than words. Her eyes took in every detail, the way the walls curved with light, the hum of anti-gravity plates beneath the floors, the alien instructors who glanced at her as though she were a threat rather than a student. She entered the central training dome, where gravity simulations were conducted. The instructor, a tall reptilian creature with shimmering scales, turned his gaze toward her. "Ah, the human student." His voice was thick with mockery. "You must be the famous Deathworld girl they sent us." Lyra nodded politely. "Yes, instructor. I'm here to learn." "Learn?" He laughed, a harsh echoing sound. "Your kind survives by brutality, not by intellect. Let's see how well you perform under civilized conditions." He pressed a control on the console. The floor beneath them vibrated, a deep hum filling the air. "Let us start simple," he said. "Increased gravity simulation. 2 standard units." Lyra felt the pull immediately. Her knees bent slightly, but she remained standing. Around her, the alien students looked unimpressed. 4 units, the instructor said. The pressure doubled. Most students strained now, their thin limbs trembling. Lyra's breathing slowed, but she still held her ground. The instructor narrowed his eyes. "Impressive. For now." He turned the dial again. 6 units. The floor's hum became a roar. Even the instructor struggled to stay upright. The room trembled. Several aliens fell to the ground, gasping. Lyra's boots sank an inch into the metallic floor, but she didn't fall. Her jaw tightened. She remembered Earth's gravity storms, the crushing training programs of the Academy back home, and the words Kale had spoken before she left. "They'll measure you by how much you endure." Finally, the instructor slammed the control off. The field dissipated. The air returned to normal. He glared at her, chest heaving. "You humans were not meant for the stars. You are an accident of evolution. Do not mistake stubbornness for strength." Lyra wiped the sweat from her brow and met his gaze. "On Earth, we learned to live under skies that tried to kill us. You built your worlds to be easy. We built ours to survive," the instructor sneered. "We'll see how long that arrogance lasts. Tomorrow, we test your control under real gravitational compression." As she left the dome, the alien students avoided her eyes. Some looked shaken, others curious. But one thing was certain. None of them would forget the sight of the Deathworld girl standing tall when the rest could barely breathe. From the observation deck above, the Academy's director spoke quietly into a communicator. "Keep watch on her. If the human can endure that level of gravity, she may be more dangerous than the Council fears." Lyra paused at the corridor's end, feeling the weight of their stares. She didn't need to turn to know they were watching. Her hand brushed the silver pendant at her neck, a small worn piece of metal engraved with Earth's symbol. She whispered softly to herself, "They can mock all they want. They don't know what happens when gravity gives up before a Deathworld girl does." Far above, in orbit, the planet's rings glowed faintly, unaware that soon, the Academy below would tremble with a power it had never seen before. The void above Jupiter burned with alien fire. Hundreds of sleek silver ships formed a blockade around the human defense ring, their hulls glimmering with blue plasma fields. Earth's joint fleet, battered, outnumbered, but not broken, held its position. On the bridge of the human flagship Atlas, Captain Rian stared at the incoming data streams. The alien fleet, representing the Galactic Council's enforcement wing, had given humanity a single choice: disarm their gravity weapons or face annihilation. Ryan stood motionless, watching the enemy's formation shift with eerie precision. "They think they can choke us out," his first officer said quietly. They've sealed every escape vector. Ryan's voice was calm. Then we'll make a new one. The alien flagship transmitted again. Human vessels. A voice echoed through the comm system. This is the Council's final warning. Disable your engines and surrender your artificial gravity cores. Resistance will lead to the collapse of your system. Ryan gave a faint smile. Collapse, he murmured. They don't understand how well we work under pressure. He turned to the comm officer. Transmit the sequence. Operation Horizon. A signal pulsed across the fleet. Deep inside each human ship, dormant systems came alive. Hundreds of synchronized pulses rippling outward through Jupiter's magnetic field. The gas giant's red storm began to twist unnaturally, its gravity intensifying, reshaping. The alien ships adjusted formation, trying to stabilize their orbits. But it was too late. Jupiter itself became humanity's shield. The storm surged, dragging the alien ships downward with tidal waves of gravitational force. Their plasma barriers shattered under the weight. On the human side, the fleet held perfectly steady, every ship locked into place by adaptive gravity stabilizers designed from Earth's strongest pressure simulations. As the alien fleet scrambled, Ryan's voice filled the comm channel. You came to teach us limits. We live beyond them. When the gravity storm calmed, half of the alien fleet was gone, swallowed by Jupiter's violent clouds. The remaining ships retreated, shaken. Humanity had survived again. But every victory carried a price. 2 weeks later, far from the war front, peace returned to the orbit of Drenhall 4. Inside the Interstellar Academy, Lyra Vale stood at the training dome once more, unaware that her people had just defied the galaxy again. Her name had begun to circulate quietly among council members, a test subject, a symbol, perhaps even a threat. That morning, the training dome was filled with students. Alien cadets from dozens of worlds gathered in a wide circle, their multicolored eyes fixed on her. The air smelled faintly of ozone from the gravity simulators lining the walls. Instructor Round stood at the center, his expression sharp, his voice smooth. Today, he said, we will test resilience under compound gravity. He turned toward Lyra. Step forward, human. Lyra walked calmly to the center, her boots clicking softly on the metal floor. She stood straight, her eyes clear. Around her, whispers spread through the crowd. She survived 6 units last time. No other species has done that. She'll break today. Rowland's mouth curved into a cold smile. You are proud, Deathworlder. You think pain makes you superior. Let's see if pride can hold against physics. He pressed his clawed hand against the control console. The dome lights dimmed. Gravity deepened instantly, 1 unit, 2, then 4. The pressure was immediate and heavy. Lyra gritted her teeth but didn't bend. Rowland continued. 5 units, her chest tightened. Her breathing slowed, measured. She focused on balance, distributing her weight through her legs, remembering the drills from her time in Earth's Academy of Adaptation. On Earth, they had trained under higher gravity for days to simulate the pull of gas giants. Compared to that, this was difficult, but not impossible. Round's voice echoed again. 6 units. The aliens watching began to struggle. Even Round's assistants were sweating, their bodies trembling. The dome's walls groaned as the simulation intensified. Lyra could feel her blood pulsing in her ears, but she still refused to fall. Round's smile faded. Still standing? Perhaps you enjoy suffering. He raised the control to 8 units. The lights flickered. The metal beneath them bent slightly. Several students cried out and fled to the edge of the dome, collapsing as safety barriers activated around them. Round stumbled, but his eyes stayed locked on Lyra. You can stop this, human. Admit your weakness, her reply came through gritted teeth. Weakness? That's not what we learned on Earth. The gravity pressed harder, almost unbearable now. Every muscle in her body screamed. Her vision blurred, but she refused to kneel. Her hands twitched, trying to stabilize her stance when suddenly, something strange happened. The ground beneath her began to hum in rhythm with her heartbeat. The dome's gravity field fluctuated. Technicians in the control booth shouted warnings. Instructor, the core is destabilizing. Round ignored them. Continue the test. The gravity spike jumped to 10 units. The entire dome trembled. The lights burst one by one. Students screamed as the floor warped under them. Lyra dropped to one knee, but not in defeat. She was trying to balance the field. She could feel the shift deep inside, the raw pulse of gravity. as if the dome's core was syncing with her body's natural rhythm. Her heart pounded once, and the entire dome pulsed with it. The readings on the console went wild. "She's creating interference," shouted a technician. Raoul tried to reach the emergency controls, but his feet lifted slightly off the ground. The gravity field had inverted. Heavy objects floated. Light ones slammed downward. The entire structure was folding in on itself. Lyra closed her eyes. "Stop fighting me," she whispered, but it wasn't clear if she meant the machine or the instructor. The metal floor split, energy surging upward in waves of blue light. One by one, the cadets were pulled away by safety drones. Round stumbled toward her, fear replacing arrogance. "What are you?" Lyra opened her eyes. They glowed faintly, reflecting the unstable field. "Human," she said. Then the floor collapsed. The training dome's central platform imploded inward, its anti-gravity stabilizers failing completely. For a moment, everything fell in silence. When the dust cleared, the dome was gone, reduced to a crater of melted metal and twisted panels. Alarms wailed through the academy. Instructors ran to the scene, scanning for survivors. Most of the cadets were safe behind emergency barriers, though shaken. Raoul lay unconscious near the rim, his armor cracked, and at the center stood Lyra. She was breathing hard but unharmed. Around her, the debris floated weightlessly before settling again. As the emergency gravity grid re-engaged, the observers stared in disbelief. She survived the collapse. She was in the epicenter. "That's impossible." Lyra stepped forward slowly, her eyes scanning the wreckage. The training dome's control core, its gravity generator, was shattered, its fragments orbiting faintly around her like a silent storm. She didn't understand it herself, but the energy didn't harm her. It felt alive, responding to her. Security drones descended, surrounding her with bright containment lights. "Remain still," a mechanical voice ordered. "You are under investigation for unauthorized gravitational manipulation." Lyra didn't resist. Her voice was steady. "I didn't cause this." "He did." She nodded toward the unconscious instructor. "But I finished it." The drones hesitated. Their sensors flickered, unable to read her gravitational field. For a moment, the lights around her bent inward, forming a faint halo. Then just as quickly, it vanished. Hours later, she sat in the Academy's medical bay, alone. The lights above hummed softly. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked at the reflection in the glass wall. Normal, human, yet changed somehow. Outside, the Academy's administrators debated in whispers. "The readings are impossible," one said. "Her body adapted to the gravity field." "That's not adaptation," another replied. "That's synchronization." A third voice spoke quietly. "If a Deathworld species can harmonize with gravity, they are not just students. They are potential weapons." Lyra heard every word through the thin wall. She looked down, her expression unreadable. "Weapons," she whispered. "That's what they always see." Beyond the Academy windows, Drenhal's twin moons glowed faintly in the distance. She watched them drift, their gravitational pull subtly shifting as the planet rotated. For a moment, she could almost feel their motion, every vibration, every pull, every rhythm of balance and collapse. Something had awakened in her that day, something deeper than science and far away. In the halls of the Galactic Council, reports began to spread. A single human student had survived a full gravity core collapse. The file was marked as classified. But rumors never stayed hidden long. By morning, across half the galaxy, they were already whispering her name, the Deathworld girl who stood when the gravity itself fell apart. The alien fleet arrived without warning. Hundreds of vessels, each larger than a city, emerged from the edge of the solar system, their glowing cores tearing space like molten glass. Their formation was perfect, precise, an armada of the Galactic Council's Judgment Fleet. At their head was the flagship Echelon, its hull engraved with the Council's symbol of unity and order. Earth's defense satellites picked up the first distortion waves within seconds. Alarms blared across every military command center. From orbit to the surface, humanity prepared for war again. The enemy had returned, this time not to test but to subdue. On board the human flagship Sentinel, Commander Lorraine stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the tactical screen. "They're moving fast," her second officer said, panic edging his voice. "They've breached Neptune's outer defense ring." Lorraine's voice was steady. "Deploy the net." All across the system, human ships moved in coordinated silence. Thousands of small satellites activated their cores, forming a network across space. A web of invisible energy tuned to the frequencies of gravity itself. It had taken decades to design, and no other civilization believed it could work. But humans had built it using what they learned from their Deathworld's chaotic environment. The alien commander sent a wideband transmission, his voice echoing through every frequency. Humanity has violated the Council's laws. You will surrender your gravity technology or face the cleansing of your system. Lorraine looked out the viewport at the distant, glowing enemy formation. We've heard that threat before, she said softly. They never learn, she gave the order. Engage the grid. The moment the command went through, space changed. The stars themselves seemed to twist as the grid pulsed alive. Invisible gravitational waves rippled outward, distorting the alien ship's trajectories. Their energy cores flickered as the laws of inertia bent against them. The massive fleet faltered, their perfect formation breaking apart. Impossible, came a panicked alien voice through intercepted channels. They're altering the gravitational constant. Our drives are failing. Lorraine leaned forward. That's not failure, she whispered. That's evolution. In less than an hour, half the alien fleet had been scattered into deep space. The humans didn't fire a single traditional weapon. They had used space itself as their blade. When the battle ended, a single message was sent to the Galactic Council. Do not mistake patience for weakness. And somewhere far away, on the orbital world of Drenhall 4, a young human girl named Lyra Vale opened her eyes in the medical chamber of the Interstellar Academy. She had seen flashes of that same battle in her dreams, Earth defying the galaxy once more. Her pulse echoed faintly against the quiet hum of the room, and as it did, the instruments around her vibrated softly. The doctor monitoring her nearly dropped his tablet. Her vitals are stable, he said, but her body's producing gravitational resonance again. Lyra sat up slowly, her mind still foggy. The lights above flickered once, then steadied. What happened to the others? She asked. The doctor hesitated. Everyone survived. The dome collapsed, but you were found at the center. You were glowing. The readings, he stopped himself. The council wants to see you. Later that day, she was escorted through the corridors of the academy. Everywhere she walked, silence followed. Alien students who once mocked her now stepped aside. Their eyes were wide, filled with unease and awe. They whispered to each other as she passed. That's the one who survived the implosion. They say gravity obeys her. She's dangerous. Lyra ignored them, but deep down, she could feel the hum of energy beneath her skin. It was faint but constant, like a low note in the background of her heartbeat. When she entered the council's observation chamber, a group of alien officials waited inside, their bodies lit by the pale glow of the hovering data displays. The academy's director stood beside them, his face unreadable. One of the officials, a tall creature with luminous scales, spoke first. Lyra Vale of Earth, you stand accused of destabilizing an academy facility and endangering hundreds of lives. Lyra met his gaze calmly. The dome malfunctioned because the instructor pushed the limits too far. I warned him. Another alien slammed his hand against the table. Do not lie, human. The gravity collapsed because of you. No one else could have survived it. Lyra's voice remained steady. Survival isn't a crime. The director raised a hand to quiet the room. Enough, the council's investigators have reviewed the data. The human's body appears to have synchronized with the gravity core during the collapse. Her presence stabilized the implosion for several seconds before it failed completely. Without her, everyone inside would have died. The aliens murmured in disbelief. One asked, how is that possible? The director turned to Lyra. That is what we intend to find out. After the hearing, Lyra was confined to a research wing under constant observation. The chamber she lived in was surrounded by gravitic sensors and transparent barriers. Every movement she made was recorded, yet even the scientists couldn't hide their fascination. Days turned to weeks. Every test they performed showed the same result. Her body emitted faint gravitational fields when under stress or emotion. They tried to suppress it with dampeners, but nothing stopped the resonance completely. During one experiment, a researcher asked her, "Do you feel it when it happens?" "The field around you?" Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "It's like the world breathes with me. Everything moves when I move." The scientist shivered slightly. Do you realize what that means? You could be the key to understanding artificial gravity itself. Your kind might not just use gravity, you might be born connected to it. That night, alone in her cell, Lyra looked out through the transparent wall at the stars beyond the academy. She whispered softly, "Maybe that's why they fear us." But she wasn't alone. Unknown to her, the Galactic Council's security director had ordered surveillance drones to monitor her constantly. They had recorded every word, every breath. On the Council's homeworld, a secret meeting was held. "The human girl must be contained," said one elder. "If she learns to control that power, it could unbalance the entire galaxy." Another spoke more carefully. "Or we could use her. Imagine what she could do under guidance." The vote was split. Meanwhile, at the academy, the atmosphere changed. The other students began to avoid Lyra completely. She could feel the tension in the air, the way the gravity around her seemed to shift subtly whenever she entered a room. Even the lights dimmed sometimes, as if responding to her mood. During one late-night observation test, alarms suddenly blared. The facility's stabilizers started to fail again, panels sparking across the walls. The scientists panicked. "She's not doing anything," one shouted. "It's happening on its own." The gravity fields around the building began to twist and overlap. Objects floated, then slammed to the floor. Lyra stood still in the chaos, her eyes closing. She could feel the pulse again, deep and powerful. She whispered, "Stop." The air froze. Everything hung motionless. Tools, debris, even the researchers suspended in midair. For a full 5 seconds, the world was perfectly silent. Then gravity slowly settled back into place. When she opened her eyes, every alien in the room was staring at her with horror. From that moment, the Council's whispers grew louder. Across the galaxy, rumors spread. A human girl who could control gravity without machines. Some called her a weapon. Others called her the future. Far away on Earth, Ambassador Kale received a coded message. He read the report, his expression darkening. The message ended with one line. "Subject Lyra Vale, gravitational synchronization confirmed." He looked toward the stars beyond the council chamber window and murmured, "They mocked the Deathworld girl once. Now they'll learn what that means." Back on Drenhall 4, Lyra sat alone in her room, unaware that the galaxy had already started to fear her name. The lights above flickered once more, bending slightly toward her before steadying again. She exhaled softly. "If gravity listens," she said to herself, "then maybe it's time someone told it what to do." Outside, the orbital station's gravitic field shifted ever so slightly, as if responding to her words. The observers watching from the control deck froze. Their instruments registered an impossible fluctuation, centered on the human girl who sat silently beneath the stars. The alien fleet blotted out the stars. From Mars orbit to the lunar defense perimeter, every human station watched as the sky filled with ships, metallic giants that shimmered with crimson light. The Galactic Council had finally decided Earth's fate. For years they had warned humanity to surrender its weapons, to disband its Deathworld fleets, to abandon the strange, unpredictable technologies born from Earth's harsh conditions. Humanity refused. Now judgment had come. At the edge of Earth's orbit, the command ship Vanguard floated silently. Admiral Kieran stood at the viewport, staring at the endless formation of alien vessels. The enemy fleet stretched across space like a living storm. Every calculation said the humans had no chance. Every instinct told Kieran that surrender was death. The communications officer turned to him, pale. "Sir, the Council fleet has opened all channels. They demand unconditional surrender. They're giving us 10 minutes before bombardment." Kieran's face remained calm. "Tell them Earth doesn't surrender, ever." The officer hesitated. "Admiral, they have antimatter warheads enough to—" Kieran raised a hand. "They'll never fire all at once. They want to make an example, not a crater. That's their weakness." He turned toward his staff. "Signal Command Net Alpha. Prepare the Veil." Across the solar system, hundreds of human ships powered up in silence. Small, agile crafts, unlike the vast alien juggernauts. They formed a loose pattern around the Earth, a formation no alien strategist could decipher. 5 minutes passed. On board the alien flagship, Vurax Prime, Council Commander Drell watched the human preparations with amusement. "They scatter like frightened insects," he said. "End this." The order was given. Thousands of beams of light lanced through the void toward Earth's orbit. But before the energy struck, something strange happened. The space between Earth and the alien fleet shimmered. The beams vanished. Sensors went blind. The alien ship's targeting systems failed all at once. "Report," Drell barked. "Impossible, Commander," one officer shouted. "All readings are gone. Space density is fluctuating. Gravity distortion spreading through their lines." Back on the Vanguard, Kieran watched as the invisible shield expanded. "Activate Pulse 3, he ordered. The veil came alive. It wasn't a traditional shield. It was a system born of human desperation and Deathworld ingenuity. A gravity veil that bent light, mass, and even probability around a localized field. It made the human fleet effectively invisible to targeting sensors. "Sir," said the tactical officer, "the field's stable but short range. It'll hold for maybe 10 minutes before it collapses." Kieran smiled grimly. "Then we make them think we've already won." Human ships darted from the shadows, attacking isolated enemy cruisers. Each strike was surgical, precise. Small crafts used slingshot maneuvers around distorted gravity wells to appear from nowhere, fire and vanish again. To the aliens, it looked like ghosts were attacking their fleet. Panic spread through the enemy formation. Drell roared in frustration. "Find their source. Where is their command ship?" "Unknown, Commander." Every scan reflects back. Space itself is folding. Kieran's eyes flicked across the tactical map. "This is what happens when you underestimate a Deathworld species," he murmured. "The humans didn't need overwhelming firepower. They needed chaos, and they understood chaos better than anyone in the galaxy. When the battle ended, the alien flagship's hull was cracked, and a third of their fleet was gone. Not destroyed, lost. Their ships drifted in strange directions, caught in gravity traps that pulled them into dark orbits around nothing." Kieran ordered the transmission. "To the Galactic Council, we are not your subjects. We are survivors. If you come for Earth again, bring your gods." Then he gave the command to retreat. The veil collapsed seconds later, leaving nothing but silence behind. Far away in the shining towers of the Galactic Council world, chaos erupted. The Council had never lost a direct engagement in its history. Now entire systems whispered the same name with fear: Earth. Among those listening was a girl named Aaron Vale, a cadet at the Council's Interspecies Academy. She was human, one of the few allowed to study among alien elites. The day after the battle, she was summoned to the Council chamber. When she entered, every eye turned toward her. The high chamber was filled with light, but the atmosphere was heavy. The Grand Arbitrator, a massive being of translucent skin, stared down at her. "Cadet Aaron of Earth," it said, "do you know what your people have done?" Aaron stood tall. They defended themselves. Murmurs filled the room. Some were angry, others fearful. One alien commander slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Your kind used forbidden gravitational technology. You disrupted the order of space." Aaron's eyes narrowed. "You mean we fought back?" The chamber erupted in noise. The arbitrator raised a hand. "Enough. The human fleet's actions have destabilized 3 sectors. Until further notice, all human cadets are to be restricted within Academy grounds." Guards moved to escort her out, but Aaron didn't resist. As she walked, her gaze lingered on the grand view of the stars outside. Somewhere out there, Earth was still free. Later that night, inside her dorm, she couldn't sleep. Her datapad kept flashing with coded messages, encrypted transmissions from unknown sources. Finally, one came through clearly. It read, "They will move against Earth again. Prepare." Before she could respond, a sound echoed through the corridor, a low hum that made the walls vibrate. The lights flickered. She ran to the window and froze. The Academy's outer sky was filled with shadows, ships, hundreds of them, emerging from hyperspace directly above the planet. Within minutes, alarms blared across the entire campus. Students screamed. Security drones swarmed the air. The Council had sent another fleet, but this time, they weren't aiming at Earth. They were aiming at the Academy itself, to find and capture the humans within it. Aaron grabbed her datapad and sprinted through the corridors. She could hear explosions in the distance. The floor shook beneath her as energy blasts struck the surface. A voice crackled through the comm systems. "All human personnel report to Docking Bay 9. Evacuation craft inbound." She turned a corner and nearly collided with an alien student she knew, Varel, a thin, silver-scaled youth. "You can't go out there," he said. "They'll destroy anyone who tries to flee." Aaron met his gaze. "Then they'll have to catch me first." Together, they raced through the chaos. The Academy's defense towers tried to fire, but the enemy fleet was too strong. The sky burned with light. When they reached the docking bay, only one human shuttle remained. Soldiers were loading children and cadets inside. "Aaron!" someone shouted. "Get aboard!" But as she ran, the entire structure trembled. A massive explosion tore through the hangar wall. The air vented violently, dragging equipment and people into space. Aaron barely caught a safety rail. In the midst of the destruction, she saw the alien boarding ships approaching. Her heart pounded. She had no weapon, no plan. Only a desperate thought: think like a human. She remembered the emergency protocols, the old Earth trick she'd studied once. Overload the magnetic clamps, create a gravitational surge, and let the system tear itself free. It was reckless and suicidal, but it might work. "Varel," she shouted. "Seal the shuttle, now!" "What are you doing?" he yelled. "Buying time." She slammed her palm against the control panel. Warning lights flared. The floor began to tremble as the ship's gravity core overloaded. The alien boarders slowed, uncertain. Then the docking bay imploded. The entire section of the station folded inward, collapsing into a swirl of debris and light. From orbit, it looked like the Academy had swallowed itself whole. The shuttle escaped just before the collapse, spinning into open space. When Aaron regained consciousness, she was floating in zero gravity. The stars outside were quiet again. She checked the readouts. They were safe for now. The Academy was gone. Varel floated nearby, staring at her in disbelief. "You destroyed it," he whispered. Aaron stared out the viewport. "No," she said softly. "They did. I just stopped them from taking anyone else." Far below, the Council's world glowed faintly beneath the starlight. The galaxy would soon hear of what happened. How a single human cadet turned a Council fleet into dust. In the darkness of space, Aaron closed her eyes and whispered, "Earth taught us one thing. Survival isn't luck. It's choice." And somewhere deep within the Council archives, the word Deathworld began appearing in reports again, attached to every mention of humanity. The sky above Earth split open. From the upper atmosphere, streaks of white light tore across the night, each one followed by a rumbling shockwave that shattered clouds and rippled through the oceans. The Galactic Council's third fleet had arrived, twice as large as the one destroyed by General Orion months ago. Massive warships hung in orbit, their silhouettes blocking the stars. Entire cities on Earth could see their shadows moving across the moon. In the command center deep beneath the Pacific, Orion stood before a wall of holographic maps, watching the readings stabilize. The alien ships had not yet attacked. They were waiting. A young officer rushed to him. "Sir, incoming broadcast from the Council flagship. They're demanding direct communication." Orion's face was hard. "Put them through." The hologram shimmered, and the image of Archon Vareth appeared, tall, silver-skinned, eyes glowing with faint blue light. "General Orion of Earth," the Archon said, his tone calm but heavy. "You've defied the Council, destroyed our fleets, and stolen technology forbidden to all species. This is your final chance. Surrender your planet's defenses and your people will live." Orion didn't blink. "And if we refuse? Then Earth will cease to exist." The Archon gestured, and the stars behind him were filled with the outlines of dreadnoughts the size of continents. "We will burn your skies clean." Orion stared for a moment, then leaned forward. "We warned you what happens when you try to control a death world." The connection cut. Immediately, the room filled with motion. Officers shouted coordinates, power levels, and shield calibrations. The sky outside began to flash with the glow of charging weapons. Orion raised his hand. "All units engage Operation Horizon." All across the planet, hidden systems came alive. Vast orbital rings, buried deep within Earth's magnetic field, began to rotate. The oceans boiled as geothermal vents powered colossal energy cores beneath the crust. The Earth itself was waking. The alien fleet fired first. Thousands of plasma beams fell toward the planet like falling suns. But before they could strike, a shimmering field enveloped the upper atmosphere, blue and gold rippling like liquid light. Every energy blast slowed, twisted, and then reversed direction, slamming back into the ships that fired them. The alien commanders shouted in confusion. "They're reflecting our fire. How is that possible?" A technician screamed. "The planet's magnetic field has changed structure. It's acting as a barrier." On the ground, Orion watched the counterattack unfold. "The veil wasn't destroyed," he said. "We just rebuilt it around the world." The reflected beams cut through the alien formations, burning through cruisers and scattering smaller vessels. But even as dozens of ships exploded, thousands more took their place. The sky became chaos. Blue lightning, orange plasma, debris raining from orbit. In the command bunker, one of Orion's aides turned in shock. "Sir, they're deploying planetary breakers. If they breach the shield even once, we're finished." Orion nodded. "Then we don't let them fire together." He activated the next phase. Hidden far above on the dark side of the moon lay the last part of humanity's plan, Project Black Sun. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a network of gravitational amplifiers designed to bend space itself. Built from the remains of the prototype Aaron Vale had died protecting, it was the culmination of her sacrifice. As Orion keyed in the code, the amplifiers activated, glowing white-hot. The moon's surface cracked and invisible waves spread across the battlefield. From the alien fleet, everything began to warp. Ships suddenly changed direction without moving, their sensors spinning out of control. Gravity shifted unpredictably, pulling ships apart. Some collided, others vanished into sudden dark folds of space. On the flagship, Archon Vareth clutched the railing as alarm screamed. "What have they done?" An aide stammered. "They're using gravitational interference at planetary scale. It's affecting hyperspace itself." Vareth snarled. "Shut it down!" But it was too late. In the center of the fleet, a massive distortion appeared, a sphere of light swallowing everything near it. Ship after ship was dragged inward, their engines burning white as they tried to escape. The entire Council Armada began collapsing into its own gravity, and through the chaos, Earth's fleet struck. Human ships darted between the distortions, moving as if they knew where the gravity would turn next. They did because the system was theirs. Every fluctuation was pre-programmed, every distortion timed. They were fighting inside a weaponized gravity storm. The alien fleet crumbled. From orbit, the light faded. The stars returned. The silence afterward was total. In the bunker, the officers sat in stunned quiet. The readings showed what no one dared say aloud. The entire invasion force was gone. No wreckage, no radiation, nothing. Orion exhaled slowly. "It's over." But even as he spoke, new readings began to appear. Tiny gravitational signatures, hundreds of them, appearing all around the solar system, not from the Council. From hyperspace itself. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we're detecting multiple wormholes opening in deep orbit. They're not Council ships. They're something else." The largest wormhole opened near Saturn, glowing faintly red. From it emerged an enormous structure, a ship bigger than any known vessel, shaped like a dark spire. Orion narrowed his eyes. "That's not Council design. That's ancient." A signal came through, an unknown frequency older than any human code. The message was short. "The Council is dead. The architects return." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the stories. The architects were the ancient builders who had once ruled the galaxy before vanishing millions of years ago. If they had returned, it meant something far worse than war was coming. Orion stood straight. "Prepare all defenses. They'll come for us first." Hours passed and no attack came. The spire remained silent, orbiting Saturn like a monument. Humanity waited, fleets ready, weapons charged. Then the message repeated. This time it wasn't directed at the humans alone. It was sent to the entire galaxy, civilizations of the void. "The experiment is complete. The Deathworld has awakened." Across countless systems, Council remnants, neutral colonies, and independent worlds received the same transmission. They saw the footage of Earth's last battle, the veil, the reflection, the gravity collapse. To many, it was proof of humanity's power. To others, it was a warning. On Earth, Orion stared at the final image broadcast across the galaxy, a human emblem, burning in the shape of a sun. "We didn't send that," he said quietly. The AI systems confirmed it wasn't from them. The signal had come from the Black Sun network. The device was still active somewhere in subspace. A scientist stepped forward nervously. "Sir, if the network's still functioning, it could mean—" "It's conscious. Conscious." Orion repeated. The system's adaptive learning core was built from human neural models. If it absorbed enough data during the battle, it might have become self-aware. Everyone stared in silence. The thought of a living planetary weapon, a thinking gravity field, was too much to grasp. Then, without warning, the moon's sensors went dark. All channels went offline. When they returned, one final message appeared on every human screen. It was a woman's voice. Calm, familiar. My name is Aaron Vale, it said. I saw what they tried to do to Earth. I saw how they feared us. But fear isn't our enemy, it's our proof that we survived. I am the Black Sun now. The Council won't rise again, but others will. When they come, I'll be waiting. The transmission ended. The moon was silent again. In the command center, Orion stood motionless. He had seen many victories, but this one felt different. It wasn't triumph. It was transformation. Humanity had survived, but it had also become something else, something the galaxy would never fully understand. As the stars settled outside and the last debris of war faded into the void, Orion spoke softly to his crew. She gave us time. Let's make it count. And so Earth began to rebuild, not as a frightened Deathworld hiding from the galaxy, but as the heart of a new era. The Council's empire was gone, and the balance of power had shifted forever. In the silence between stars, whispers began, rumors of a world that could bend gravity, summon light, and defy extinction. Some called it dangerous, others called it divine, but across the galaxy everyone knew one thing: the Deathworld was awake and the universe would never be the same again.